when we first rediscover Monk in this movie, he is in a very dark place, and he's contemplating, suicide, and
Hmm.
the pandemic has had that severe impact on him, and but I really love the challenge of that, you know, delving into his darker, side.
Mr. Monk's Last Case of Monk movie is now streaming on Peacock. So, what was it like for you to reprise your role as Adrian Monk after being away from it for 14 years?
It was a little strange in the early
Yeah.
going, but it didn't take that long. Once we got all the cast back together and Andy gave us these great scenes to work on, and we even had Randy Zisk, who was our kind of director showrunner on the series. He directed the movie,
Yeah.
so we had all of the pieces in place to to be able to make shortcuts, and recreate the vibe of the show. And once we got into it after first, second day, it was just, we were just back in the saddle. It felt great.
It wasn't quite 14 years. 2 years ago, we did a very short public service a film with
Okay.
Tony and the cast. So
Right.
that was kind of like a test run.
So, Andy, I want to ask you this. Obviously, you're known for creating the series that aired on the USA Network, but ultimately, what made you want to bring back, really Monk and the rest of the original cast for a full-length movie?
Well, as I said, we did a short film 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
I think the pandemic sort of forced our hand. Everybody wanted to know how Monk was doing. Everyone loves this character, but they also worry about this character, and they want to
Yeah.
make sure how Monk was doing. And unfortunately, the news we gave them was Monk was
Not doing well.
not doing very well. So, but in the course of this movie, Monk finds his way and gets his footing, and I think we end the movie on a hopeful and positive note.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And, Tony, I want to ask you, this movie is kind of dark since the case he's trying to solve involves his stepdaughter. So, what was your initial reaction when you first read the script?
Well, I thought it was a great idea. I mean, I when we first rediscover Monk in this movie, he is in a very dark place, and he's contemplating, suicide, and
Hmm.
the pandemic has had that severe impact on him, and but I really love the challenge of that, you know, delving into his darker, side, and given that, what the challenges were to pull him out of that, and to, somehow help him to survive it. But this character is ultimately, it's all about loss. It's about the loss of his wife. It's about the loss of his work. His friends have, you know, all gone away, and he's a very lonely beast, and that's always some interesting territory to explore.
It really is. And Andy, I want to ask you, because there was a short film before this and everything going on with COVID-19, was it easy for you to create this story since a lot has happened over the last few years?
Well, it might be easy for other writers, but writing is hard, at least for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And you're a writer, and you know you can any writer
Hmm. Oh,
any
yeah.
writer listening will not tell you. Writing anything is hard, but at least in this case, I knew where I wanted. Frankly, I knew where I wanted to end up. I knew the last scene,
Mhm.
and I kind of worked backwards from that last scene. And as a template, I used uh, "It's a Wonderful Life," the old Frank Capra movie, uh,
Mhm.
which also took the character to a dark place, but ended up being very positive, life affirming.
Of course. And Tony, I want to ask you, despite the title of the film, the ending does leave the door open for another movie, possibly. So would you be open to reprising your role
Say
as
yes.
Monk again?
Say yes. Tony, say yes.
Andy
This is
Yeah.
it. Just say the word yes. How hard is that?
Andy would like me to say yes.
There it is
Right.
on tape.
On tape. Absolutely.
Well,
So,
we never say never.
We never say
well,
no.
of course, absolutely. So, Andy, that leads me to this question, and this is my final question. If you guys do return for another movie, do you have kind of a general idea of direction you want to go with Monk?
Would there be a part for me in it?
Oh, that's a good idea. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna squeeze you in. I don't play. I think Tony plays poker more than me. I don't play poker, but in this case, I'm holding my cards kind of close to the vest. I do have an idea that I'm excited about, and if the situation arises, I'd love to move forward with it. But for right now, I'm playing my cards close to the vest.
Well, Tony and Andy, thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. Congratulations on the film and continued success to both of you.
Thank you.